Everybody shopping for a power station checks the same two numbers: how big the battery is and how fast it charges from the wall. And they skip the one spec that actually decides whether the thing keeps you alive once the grid is gone. It's sitting right there on every spec sheet. Almost nobody reads it, and which brand wins it isn't the one you'd guess. Here's the number: solar input. It's the maximum wattage a station can pull in from panels. And it's the whole ball game the moment the wall socket is dead. A long outage, a fan, a cabin, anywhere the sun is your only refill. Battery size tells you how long you last on one charge. Solar input tells you how fast you claw that charge back. Run the battery flat off-grid with a weak solar ceiling and you're just sitting there watching a slow trickle while the sun's right above you. That's the difference between topping off by lunch and chasing daylight all afternoon. So which brands actually do this well? Because there's a real spread, and it doesn't track with who spends the most on ads. Start at the roughly 1000 watt-hour tier, the size most people buy. The two names you already know, the big orange one and the sleek one everybody reviews. Mostly cap their solar input around 2 to 400 watts here. Fine for a slow top up, not much more. Then there's the one that keeps showing up near the top of the value charts and somehow never enters the conversation. Bluetti. Their most popular unit in this class, the AC180, takes 500 watts of solar on an 1100 watt hour battery. That's not a rounding difference over the others. It's the gap between a half-day recharge and a full-day one. Step up to the 2000 watt-hour units and the pattern holds. The AC200L and the newer Elite 200V2 pull in 1000 to 1200 watts. And the charge controller tracks well, even in mediocre sun, holding 350 in conditions where you'd expect 400 flat out. Now line the prices up next to that, because this is where it stops being close. That AC180 runs around $500 for its 1100 plus watt hours. The AC200L lands near 800 for a full 2000, and unlike most rivals at that price, it expands. You bolt on battery modules up to 7 kilowatt hours as your needs grow. More capacity per dollar than the brands outspending it 10 to 1 on marketing, with a 5-year warranty standard when 2 or 3 is the norm, which raises the obvious question: if it wins the spec that matters and costs less, why isn't it the default? Part of it is just noise. The brand doesn't flood your feed the way the others do, so it stays invisible. But part of it is fair, and skipping it would make me a liar. Here's where that same brand costs you. That popular AC180, independent testing pulled about 950 usable watt hours out of it, against the 1152 on the label, roughly 82%, which is noticeably soft and worth knowing before you hand over the money. It's heavy too, around 36 pounds, a good 10 more than the lighter units in its class, and you feel every one of them hauling it up the basement stairs. And the software is basic, fine on the bigger units, but on the AC180 the app is Bluetooth only and stripped down next to the slicker one, the orange and sleek crowd chips. If a polished app and a one-hand carry are what you care about most, this isn't your brand, and I'll say that flat out. There's even a spot where it beats itself. That old AC180 has quietly been outclassed by the same company's newer Elite 100V2. Lighter, quieter, faster, rated for nearly double the charge cycles. So if you go this route, buy the current generation, not whatever's cheapest on some stale listing. The value's real, but only if you pick the right box. So who is it actually for? If you lean on solar, real off-grid living, a fan with a roof array, a cabin, a long outage plan where the sun does the refilling, this is the setup that gives you more solar input and more capacity per dollar than anything the louder brands put in front of you. The AC200L especially is, for my money, the most quietly sensible 2000 watt-hour unit on the market right now, quick to charge, expandable when you outgrow it, hundreds cheaper than the units it outspecs on the numbers that count. Pair it with a decent panel array, and you're closer to real energy independence than most people think that costs. And if you'd rather have the lightest box or the prettiest app, go buy the orange one or the sleek one. Genuinely, no shade. They're good at what they're good at. But if what you want is the most power and the most solar for your money, the Spec Nobody Checks points somewhere nobody's looking. Worth a look before you default to the name you already knew.